Welcome everyone to another episode of the All Systems Go podcast. I'm happy. How about that? How about that simple word happy? Because I get to, at times, hand select people that I would like to come on to the podcast regularly. And guess what, everybody? Sometimes when I hand select them, they actually say yes. Okay. So it is our treat today to have back on the podcast. And just let me get you all ready. You're going to start seeing a theme of regulars. All right. And she is definitely one of my favorite regulars, Peacey. She is the UK's leading ActiveCampaign specialist. We could probably expand that even beyond the UK now, Kay. But anyways, and the founder of Slick Business, their ActiveCampaign Academy provides expert help, training, and support to email marketers all over the globe. Kay has a unique combination of top-level strategy and technical skills. Plus, which is actually one of my favorites, a lifetime of teaching. Okay, that is extremely important when we're talking about tech. All right. And she is these are the things that make her the perfect person to help your business unlock a bigger return on your investment from email marketing automation while keeping the human touch accurate. Kay, welcome back to the podcast. Glad to have you on. And I just have to say this before I give you the floor. Listen, everyone, Kay and I have been talking for like 30 minutes before we record this podcast. So we're already warmed up. We are already warmed up and ready to go. Kay, I've got you on. You are my ActiveCampaign insider. If there's anyone that has a pulse on what's happening at ActiveCampaign in the platform, you're my go-to. I'm glad to have you on to tell us about, what's up in the ActiveCampaign world. How you doing, Kay?
Oh man, there was a lot of flattery in that intro. I'm down with that.
Yes, you deserve it. You earned it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a while since we've been on the podcast. And I know, we could talk about marketing and automation just all day. So I think half an hour, we got off pretty lightly there.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, so ActiveCampaign world. Interesting things have been happening in ActiveCampaign land. And you guys know I'm completely obsessed with it. It's the only platform I work with in ESP world and automation world. This sort of high level perspective where you're looking at multiple platforms across this whole range. I'm very zoomed in. I'm looking just at ActiveCampaign, aware of its position in the market, but really looking just at ActiveCampaign with this very critical friend eye. So I'm not afraid to call them out when they do stuff that I think is less than ideal.
Yes.
But I'm also their biggest evangelist and champion. And that's an interesting place to be, and it's where I'm at my happiest, definitely.
Yeah,
So
I share those sentiments with you. I think that they need every software platform needs evangelists to hold them accountable and keep them honest.
Yes. Yeah. So in schools in the UK, we have a system of governance, and every state school is required to have a governing body. And the governing body's job is to do exactly that, to hold the staff of that school accountable and say, you are here to serve the children at this school. And to me, I see my place in relation to ActiveCampaign in that same way. I am the critical friend. So I'm outside of the organization looking in, but always there to represent the user eye. And I have been right from the very start. And what's really nice now is that my sort of status and stature in the ActiveCampaign community just means that I have a little bit more clout. I'm a bit more listened to than I used to be, and that feels really good. So I think it's been an interesting patch in ActiveCampaign's relationship with users. We've seen a lot of change on the pricing. That has been Where do you want me
Man,
to start, Chris?
let's start there, Kay, because I have to say I know the value. I know the value of marketing automation, and I am not afraid or opposed to paying top dollar. I was one that paid $2,000 as a Kickstarter fee to Infusionsoft, which is now Keep, and paid $300 a month before my business was really profitable, and I looked at it as an investment. So
Right.
I'm no stranger to paying top dollar for a platform, but I'll let you let you speak on it. Kay, from my vintage point, looking at LinkedIn and social and just across the board, there was so much confusion and so much disappointment in how they did it. I think for the most part, those of us who really know how to leverage it are okay paying a little more,
Mm.
but how you get us to pay more is really where you can lose. You lose a lot of people.
Yes, I completely agree. I think communication has been the weakest thing that I've seen from ActiveCampaign
Mm.
in
Mm-hmm.
2023, and
Mm.
that's really hard for me to see that unfold. Is really
Yeah.
hard because I'm an evangelist for this platform, and because I completely wholeheartedly believe it's excellent value, even at the top end current pricing.
Yes.
This platform is worth every penny of that if you're leveraging it, right? I
I
think
agree.
where we're seeing so much difficulty is on two levels. One is the communication, but the other level on which we're seeing difficulty for users is people who have been using the platform maybe for quite a long time and who came in on lower pricing, on lower legacy pricing, and have been sort of coasting with the platform. So they're maybe just scratching the surface. This is a phrase I hear a lot. People who are aware that they're just scratching the surface of what this tech can do. And really, until the pricing increases of 2023 happened, you could get away with doing that because
Yeah.
the you weren't paying the actual value of the product at that
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we've had two major changes to the pricing with ActiveCampaign in 2023. The first one happened straight out of the box in January. Like I literally came back from holiday day one. Oh my God, everything has changed. It was actually overall a really positive change for users because what it did was separate out the CRM
Yes.
part of ActiveCampaign
Yes.
from the marketing automation part of
Mm-hmm.
ActiveCampaign.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that is actually really good for users because so many businesses don't use the deals and pipelines part of
Yeah.
ActiveCampaign,
Yeah.
often because they actually don't know how, which
Yeah.
is another topic of conversation. But what was happening a lot was that people were paying for these higher levels and then just not using those products at all, those features of the product. So it separated out into marketing, which is all of your automations, custom fields, tags, all the stuff that pretty much everyone uses, and then sales, which was the CRM and pipelines, and the more B2B features like accounts as well.
Mm-hmm.
There are not that many businesses, even on Pro and Enterprise, who are using those features. So to me, it made sense for that change to happen,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I was a bit taken aback because it felt so abrupt, right? Um,
That
and
is true.
and then
Yeah.
I don't think their sales page or their pricing page did a really good job. I
Yeah.
should say they didn't even do a bad job. It was like a horrible job at
Yeah.
explaining
I,
what's
yeah.
what you get in each level. But to your point, I saw it. I said, okay, yep, it makes sense. Decouple this the
Yeah.
CRM, and things like that. So
Yeah. But the delivery of it was fumbled, I think. It was very, very abrupt.
yeah.
So it came pretty much out of nowhere for users, including me. That one caught me off guard. I did not know that was coming. And then because the pricing page in its first iterations was muddy, it wasn't clear what you were getting and what had changed for users. So whenever ActiveCampaign do something like that, I try and see it as an opportunity. So I ended up I spent 2 days trying to decipher what does this mean for users. I mean, 2 full days, and
Yep.
I'm in people's inboxes at ActiveCampaign with all of those nitty gritty questions. What if this particular situation arises? What does that
Yeah.
mean for that
Yeah.
user? Where do they
Yeah.
sit now? What does it mean if they were on the all-in-one product and then they change their contact limit? What's going to happen then? And so there were lots of really detailed questions that had to be answered there. And I was able to take that and reframe the whole thing and put up a blog about it. And actually
Yeah.
what we found was that people were going to my blog instead of to the ActiveCampaign pricing page
Yes.
because it was doing a better job of it. And actually that, I have to be honest, that situation should not arise. That shouldn't
No.
happen.
Now let me say this. Everybody listening, if you haven't heard of Kay before, and again, I said it on the intro, she has an academy, Active Campaign Academy. What you will find is that there are oftentimes people who are actually helping the small businesses, who are actually using the software that understand it in a more contextual it means that can help you navigate the tool a lot better. I've got a podcast episode where I talk about how marketing companies aren't who you should go to for marketing. They're soft. I mean, I should say marketing software. They're there to create software. They're not there to help you grow your business, although they try. They shouldn't, but although they try. And I say all that to say, everybody, this is the importance of knowing Kay and knowing a variety of people that use the tools that you use extensively, because there were a lot of people, Kay. I'm always on LinkedIn, and there were a lot of people posting about the pricing and doing write-ups. And when I went to them, I mean, they were just sloppy. It was just kind of the first to go. But the fact that you took your time, took 2 days to write it, and saw that people were going to that instead. Listen, these are the type of people that you all need to be following if you're using ActiveCampaign, because a person like Kay is not only going to take the time and make sure that it's accurate, but you also did your due diligence and reached out to support and, got your clarification from the company as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, one of my strengths is I'm working with small businesses, from very tiny one-person people who are making craft and
Yeah.
selling that,
Yeah.
right through the small to medium business spectrum, and then up to sort of global corporate sized businesses as well. So that means that I see this huge range of user experiences. And
Yeah.
it's super interesting to me that there is really strong commonality across all of those users in where they get stuck on the platform. What are the things that don't make sense to them about ways stuff is presented?
Yeah.
And so that day when the pricing change came out in January, I went to look at the pricing page and I was like, immediately on the email to ActiveCampaign, like, guys, you need to fix this, because you're just going to have absolute chaos of people not understanding what this means. Because if I don't understand it,
Yeah.
and I'm completely immersed in ActiveCampaign, if I'm going to
Every
this
day.
page, I don't understand what you're telling me, there's something wrong here.
Yes.
And to
Listen,
their credit,
everybody.
they changed it really quickly.
They
It's
changed
better.
it. Yes. Listen, I reached out to Kay. Me. Okay.
I love it
Let
when
me
you do that.
let me just do a refresher for everybody who forgot. I was the director of education at ActiveCampaign. It was my sole purpose to educate the company on how to use the software as well as the user. So many of you have seen me in the videos. I may still be on some. Chris L. Davis, former director of education. Kay, if I had a screenshot, I put it up right now. I reached out to Kay and I was like, what does this mean? What is going on?
Man,
And
Chris,
she,
my inbox was crazy, absolutely crazy. I had so many ActiveCampaign partners going,
yes,
what just happened?
yep,
What does this mean? What
yep,
does it mean for us? Yeah.
yes. So with that being said, give us the summary. Hopefully by the time this episode airs, it's been a lot clearer. But even if not, we're going to make sure that everybody is taken care of. What are the main points that any existing ActiveCampaign user should know about the new pricing?
Okay. Perfect question. First thing to understand is you've got legacy users, so people who are on the older all-in-one product. And then you've got people who have already moved to or started with the new product model.
Mm,
Okay. So the original one was, if you started your ActiveCampaign account anywhere up to January 2023, you're on the original all-in-one product. Okay.
Yep.
If you've purchased since and you've started a fresh account since January 2023, you would have come straight in on the new model. All right.
Okay.
And the key difference is the old one, I'm going to call it legacy product, is an all-in-one. It had all of the features and it had these levels. You could get light, plus, pro, or enterprise, but it was always a single product. And you had a contact limit thrown in there as well, right?
Okay.
Over here in the new model, they've split it. We've now got 2 bits, okay? And the best way we found to understand it was that one of them is the cake and the other one is the icing on the cake. All right. The cake is the marketing. That's the main functions of ActiveCampaign: automations, custom fields, tags, emails, the stuff that is the meat and drink of marketing. Okay. That's all in the marketing component. And that's the one that pretty much everyone needs. Then if you wanted it, you could have the icing on the cake too, which is called sales. And if you get both bits together, that's roughly equivalent to the all-in-one. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
So, and if you get both bits together, they call it the bundle. So what we've got now is the original legacy product is roughly equivalent to the bundle product in the new pricing model.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And it's hard for people to understand because the way it's laid out on the sales page, on the pricing page for ActiveCampaign, makes that really hard to understand because it actually lists it as the marketing product, then the sales product, because technically you can buy the sales product on its own.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone.
Me neither. Not a
Come
single.
tell me, like, if you're listening to this and you've got the sales only, come find me because I want to know what you're doing.
Please do. Yes.
Because I can't see a use case where you would get sales on its own. And I think that's where the waters got really, really muddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it gets complicated then between marketing only, sales only, or the bundle product. And then you've got legacy product in there as well. And there are differences in how many users you can have and what the contact limits are. And the pricing is really hard to visualize.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think the main challenge there was to simplify it as far as possible. Okay. So that was why I wrote this blog, which has, a grid where you can actually see all of the different pricing in one place and try and make a decision based on what features you actually use, how many contacts you have, and then figure out what you should be paying now. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't worry, everybody. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Kate. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say the other complication was that if you were on the legacy pricing originally, the thing that really threw everyone who'd been using ActiveCampaign for a long time was that if you then changed your contact limit or your plan level at all, you were straight into the new pricing over here.
That was the biggest thing. What I was going to say real quick is don't worry, everybody. We're going to have the link. We'll have the link to that blog post that Kay is mentioning. So we have you. It's in the show notes. But that piece right there, Kay, is where I started to feel the friction, right? Because if we go back historically, ActiveCampaign disrupted the space by providing a level of flexibility and functionality in the small business CRM landscape that was at a price point that was practically unbelievable. That is how that's how they became who they are. Now, that's only half the story. The other half is power users like myself would jump on and really test its limits. And we were evangelists, me and Barry Moore. We had the Automation Nation Facebook group and everything. He had the podcast. And we were really strong evangelists. And we weren't the only ones, but there are a ton of early adopters that have a heavy hand in the success of ActiveCampaign because they didn't have to do much marketing. They just had to do product development, and we were essentially their marketing force, right?
Yeah.
So to do pricing in a way that your legacy, the folks that laid the early bricks, their pricing is gone and not communicate that. Here's the thing. It's one thing to remove grandfathered pricing, We don't see that often, Kay. We really don't see that often, that grandfather pricing is not removed. But when we do see it, there's usually some communication. It says, hey, you're on a legacy plan. We're changing this. Here's what to look forward to. But the fact that there was none of that, was
Yeah.
tough. It was a tough pill to swallow.
And that's where the critical friend in me gets antsy about it, because it hurt. It hurt a lot of
Mm-hmm.
users, because I care about users. I
Yeah.
really do. I
Yeah.
feel their pain. And it was really painful to see a lot of people who were, for example, about to go up a contact limit, or who were just about to move to Plus. If they had known that that change was coming, they could have made that change earlier, or reconfigured what they were going to do to accommodate this,
Yep.
knowing that their pricing was going to change. They were going to have to think about what features they actually needed. There was a lot of decision making that needed to go into it if you had to
Yeah.
make a change with no warning at all. It felt really unfair. And I
Yeah.
think it was unfair.
Yeah. I think that's the best word for it, right? Just felt unfair. And so I finished up my premium podcast, and I'm pretty sure I talk so many places I can't remember where I say stuff anymore. Okay, but I'm pretty sure it's on my premium podcast, and I mentioned that though we're hurt, we're still there.
Yeah.
However, you're gonna have to be careful how you treat your people, because the technological landscape is changing. And there are certain things that I can now do without ActiveCampaign that I used to have to rely on ActiveCampaign to do. So it's no longer, oh, I just got to take it because there's nothing else out there. The
Right.
landscape is maturing and developing fast. So you really have to be sure that you treat the people. It's like when I was in fast food, I used to work at McDonald's, and they would always tell us that a person in the store is more valuable than a person calling. And then
Mhm.
when I went and worked in retail, they said the same thing. If there's somebody in the store, they're more important than the person calling in, because that person may
Yeah.
never drive in. They are here. We are the people in the store.
Yeah.
Don't treat the people calling or the new people better than
Yeah.
the ones that have really helped build that foundation.
Yeah. And it put users in such a difficult position, because they were not given time to make. It's a really important business decision whether, how much you're paying for your
Yeah.
marketing automation software. Should you consider migrating? Do I need to go up a level and get these extra features, or do I need to come down a level and not keep paying for stuff that I'm not using? These are not straightforward decisions.
Yep.
They're complex. They
Yep.
require usually some outside expertise from someone like me, who knows it intimately and who can just answer your question. Like, you describe to me what you're doing in your business, I can tell you exactly what ActiveCampaign plan you need.
Yep.
But to figure that out from the pricing page on its own is really, really tough, and it takes time to make those decisions. So to put users in a position where they were not given any time to
Yeah.
do that, that felt really difficult for the ActiveCampaign user community. And we saw a lot of fallout from that in
Yeah.
ActiveCampaign communities, right
Yeah.
across the board.
And you have to be careful, Kay, because the marketing automation space, with the inception of AI and
Mm.
other competitors like Go High Level, there's a lot of people that were just kind of waiting for a reason to leave and try the competitor, or try something else. So
I agree.
it's a tough one. So let me say this, Kay. One of the things with the pricing that came to the surface is how you're charged for contacts, right?
Yeah.
So if those of you, if you don't know, ActiveCampaign handles this the right way, I believe. Whereas if you have a contact in your database but they're not subscribed to any list, you don't pay for them. So they can still go through automations. They can't receive emails or anything, but they can still go through automations, receive tags. You could put notes on their record and everything. This is especially important for those of you who have your CRM integrated with like your LMS or website and all that. But understanding that, because now with this new pricing, there's a contact limit that once you exceed it and you go to the next level, you're automatically on the new pricing. So I
Yeah.
wanted to talk strategically for a moment and see how you've been handling this and how you've been instructing people to keep their lists nice and clean so that if they do go over, it's with
Yeah.
engaged leads and not tire kickers that, haven't unsubscribed but aren't opening emails.
Yeah, that's a drum I have been banging for a very long time. The first course that I put out that you could buy independently, instead of hiring me as a consultant, was the better deliverability and engagement with ActiveCampaign,
Yeah.
because keeping your contact list tight is all connected. It's intimately connected with deliverability and the engagement of contacts with emails.
Yeah.
And deliverability is so fundamentally important, because if your emails are not getting delivered to the inbox, then what the heck is the point? They can do nothing if they're not getting
Yep.
delivered, right? So I've been talking about deliverability a lot, and it's really interesting to me that when it suddenly becomes a case of you've got to get your contact limit under control, or it is going to cost you money right now,
Mm-hmm.
people understand that in a different way. I have not needed to do my deliverability rant so
Yep.
much, because people really, small businesses really understand intuitively and very quickly if they are carrying a lot of dead weight in their contact list, which the vast majority of ActiveCampaign accounts are right now, carrying a lot of zombie contacts,
Yeah.
right? And they're
Yeah.
either unsubscribed from all lists, so they're not costing anything, but they're just cluttering the place up, zombieing around in there, coming
Mm-hmm.
up in your searches and segments, or they're still subscribed to a list, but they're not opening anything. And those guys, I've seen accounts with tens of thousands of them in there. And all of a
Yep.
sudden, everyone's just woken up and gone, "Oh, have you got anything about contact reduction?" I'm like, yes, yes,
Mm-hmm.
I have.
Yep. Yep.
Come on into the academy. We have some very active training and threads in there that are all about contact cleaning, and what are the steps you need to go through, from clearing out the very obvious bots and bounced contacts and
Yep.
dead weight, right down to the really more nuanced stuff of someone who has once been a customer but isn't now, or
Yeah.
someone who is a customer now but never opens their emails. There are a lot of different decision points in there. And so for us in the academy, I engage with every business who comes in and really help them find their way through that maze to do the cleanup. And then they come out of it with a routine that they can run like once a month or something. Go
Yeah.
run this segment. Those guys, delete. These guys, make a Facebook audience.
Yep.
These
Yep.
guys, give them a tag, leave them over there. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it. Was just a light mention, but do you all see the strategy just oozing out of Kay? You literally just witnessed the teacher, the technician, and the AC expert all in one,
Mm.
right there. Because what you're saying that I caught is that though they aren't on your list and you may not be able to reach them via email, you can still add them to other channels.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mm.
Everybody, we are in the year of 2023 and beyond, depending on when you listen to this. No longer are we relying on one channel called email to do
Mm.
all of our messaging. You have other options. Okay.
Yeah.
There are other ways. And I'll say this, Kay, as much as I didn't like the delivery of the pricing, the piece that I did like that came out of it was that now there's an increased focus and attention on the amount of contacts. You
Yes.
know, I do
I'm
like
so
that.
with you on that one. Yeah, I've had this conversation with a few people of I can see the cherry on the cake here for me. Yes, it hurt a lot of people. I would much rather it had been handled differently.
Yeah.
But there is a silver lining, which is this outcome that suddenly, pretty much universally in ActiveCampaign land, everyone's suddenly paying attention to cleaning their list. That is great news, because everyone should have been doing that all along.
Yep. Yep.
And they're kind of almost like people are doing it for the wrong reasons now, because they're doing it to save some money, but it has this handy side effect that it means their emails are actually gonna get delivered to the inbox, and I am all for
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
That's
Absolutely.
Yeah, because otherwise we're spending so much time and energy creating amazing automation sequences and beautiful emails, but unbeknownst to many users, they're not getting delivered to the inbox. And that is heartbreaking for
Yeah,
me.
yeah. You know, Kay, I deal with a lot of large databases. What's the smallest database I dealt with recently? Maybe 850K ish. You know, and they're
Mhm.
still using like small business marketing automation software like ActiveCampaign or Klaviyo or something else like that. And on average, on average,
On average.
half of those leads are unreachable. On
Oh,
on average. So the bigger your list gets, it's not like you start reaching more and more people. And when I deliver this news to these companies, there's this term full list send. This term comes from like leaders in the corporation that have no idea how email works. In their mind, they just want to, hey, we've got 1 million leads. Let's make sure we're emailing all of them. So they don't quite understand how it works and how
yeah.
deliverability, consistency, relevancy of content, clicks over opens, things like that
All
that
the things, all the things.
we're all versed with. So on
Yeah.
average, and hopefully this helps you all who are listening to let you know that it is not uncommon to have more than 50% of your leads not qualifying as engaged. Now here's the thing, Kay. They're still in the database. So now I have
Mhm.
to deliver the news. It's kind of like the doctor right afterwards, like, the report is in. 50% of them are dead. And we've got to remove them. And they're like, no. But to your point, once you remove those leads from being active and start mailing only the active one, deliverability increases, and all of your active lead generation efforts, the new leads get to inherit that good reputation.
Oh, I know, and it's magical to me. Seeing that transformation
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is a real pleasure, and it's so consistent. We see it with pretty much every person who brings an ActiveCampaign account into the ActiveCampaign Academy with me. We always address the cleanup early on because
Yeah.
everybody needs that. You have to clear the decks, get the clutter out of the way, and know what you've even got in your hands, know the state of play with your
Yep.
account. And there's a real pleasure in seeing an account go from being a sprawling, tangled mess where nobody really has a handle on what anything was doing in there, and deliverability is not great. And
Mm-hmm.
seeing that transform in the space of it's usually 3 month period, depending on how complex that mess is and how much buy-in, if they've got people above them in the business and they've got to get buy-in from director level people, it can take
Yeah.
longer because it just takes time for them to win the trust. But seeing that transformation to then this amazing cleaned up ActiveCampaign account where you can actually do stuff and build stuff and see what's going on and see really clearly, oh, these leads coming in from this lead magnet are great. They are converting really reliably. Let's lean in to that. It just enhances what you can do with ActiveCampaign so much.
Yeah. Yeah. And everybody, we've got KPC, the number one AC expert in the space that we're talking to right now. You see, I just took the UK off now. I just
Just ditch it.
number
Let's just ditch
one
it. I'm done
expert.
with it.
And what's happening, or what I want to communicate with you all is this. No, if you are ready to stop wasting your time, I am a strong proponent of community. And when you have a community that's focused on the exact tool or thing that you're trying to learn or use, you should join it without hesitation, because here's the opportunity cost here. How valuable is your time? One,
Mhm.
if you don't have a value of your time, okay, then just leave the podcast now. But if you know the value of your time, how many hours are you willing to spend that equate to dollars wasted learning something that you could spend a fraction of that monthly and get access to a brain that is bigger than K? It's not just K in the community, it's K and company. Right?
Mhm.
Like, this is the collective brain. And I say that I'm not pitching. What I'm doing is, this is the unique advantage that we have now is that there
Mm.
are communities around these interests in these topics. You don't have to settle, asking your friend or asking blindly on a Facebook group. There's dedicated spaces
It's
for
kind of a
this.
miracle, really, isn't it? And it's one of the great joys of the internet is that I can be here in rural southwest UK, sitting
Hmm.
by the sea in my tiny little town, and I get to hang out with amazing, talented business people from literally all over the world. And the
Yes.
only thing we have in common is that we happen to all use ActiveCampaign. That's it. And the relationships and the connections that form from that and the different things that people bring to the table depending on where they sit in relation to their business, what's their business experience, what is their unique and special talent. It's such a privilege to
Yeah.
be the person who's made that happen in this one specific community. And I totally agree that putting yourself in the community, you don't have to use it like every day. You don't have to be obsessed
No,
with ActiveCampaign
no.
because you have the community can do that for you.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
longer those communities exist as well, when they're searchable, this is where they get really special because
Yeah.
as time's gone on, when we've been open 18 months now, we have
Congratulations.
this incredible wealth of full use cases and specific scenarios in
Yep.
businesses. And we have the answers. They're all in our community, in our courses. You just got to search, put in the search words, it's going to come up for you.
Yep.
The
Yep.
tutorial is right there waiting for you.
Yep. I love it. I love it. Kay, while we're there, I wanted to ask, you've got a community of Active Campaign users of all varieties, right?
Mm.
In all business types. Are there any trends that are standing out to you, or any things that you kind of want to mention to the Active Campaign user that's not in your community and not connected like that? Are you seeing a uptick in automations? Like, just the floor is yours. Is there anything that you'd like to share from your vintage point of having access to so many accounts and so many business owners?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. One of the areas I find most interesting watching the development as people step into the academy is the connection with e-commerce. So ActiveCampaign has this
Mm,
really rich, juicy integration with certain e-commerce platforms, not all of them. If
right.
you're on WooCommerce is the most common one. Shopify is another big one.
Yeah.
Uh, BigCommerce, I think Easy Digital Downloads as well.
Mm,
There's this really, I call it an intimate integration because it's
yeah.
you get all of the information about every purchase, every transaction is straight there in ActiveCampaign.
Yeah.
So what I'm seeing is the companies, the businesses who are using those platforms are often not using the integration because they don't know about it. And when you tell someone about that integration and you get it in place, which is like a 5-minute job, it's the whole world explodes with
Mm,
possibility.
mm,
Abandoned cart stuff, follow-up stuff, membership stuff, it's all there on a plate. And it's like handing someone a massive toy box of all their
wow.
favorite stuff and a big garage to drive your toy cars around in. They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, look what I've got to play with."
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm seeing a trend in the businesses who are getting the most value from ActiveCampaign right now, in my opinion,
Mhm.
are the small to medium businesses who are doing e-commerce and who get that tight
Nice.
integration coming,
Nice.
right? And even if they're not with one of those e-commerce platforms, you can do it using deals and pipelines instead. So if you
Hmm.
can get some Zapier skills in there and you can make that happen using some of the other, and I feel like that's the sweet spot for ActiveCampaign right at the moment.
Mm, mm. No, that's good. I know. I've had personal experience, by no intentional choosing of my own. I've been in this e-commerce space for years now. And I guess I could really claim to be an expert. I mean, some of the things that I do, even I'm like, wow, I didn't even know you could do that. And it all revolves around segmentation because you can
Yeah.
pull so much data in. As
Mm.
an e-commerce owner, you want all of it. You want number of
All, give me
orders,
all the data.
last time. you don't do they can't give you last time an order was placed, but you run an automation that just timestamps a date field that says last order.
Yeah.
Make sure that whenever there's an order placed, that's the start trigger, it goes in and just timestamps. You can have that so where you can have time between orders and all of that. But I will say it gives you so much information from those e-commerce platforms. It's great to hear you say that, because I think, again, outside, more agnostic and even more general to technology, I've been seeing a very strong uptick in e-commerce, whether it be physical products or even just courses or digital products. I've been seeing that uptick, and I welcome it. I do. I think, Amazon blazed the trail, and Shopify has done a great job really penetrating the market with enabling people to say, hey, look, be your own Walmart, right? Be your own Amazon. Don't rely on them. Sell your own stuff. So that's refreshing to see. Last thing, Kay, I feel like I know the answer to this before I ask, but I have you, and I want everybody else to experience this too. One of the strongest, most powerful features of any marketing automation platform is the ability to personalize your marketing to increase the effectiveness of your marketing. In order to do so, one must use segmentation accurately. Okay. So here comes the question. Have you heard anything, anything on the segmentation front from ActiveCampaign? Will we get a segment manager?
I knew you were going to ask me this. I'm still asking for a segment manager. We don't have one yet. And by a segment manager, we're talking about segment with a capital S,
Yes.
meaning the specific object in ActiveCampaign. And just to get technical for a moment, if you want to send a campaign email to a chunk of your contacts, you need to build a segment. And right now in ActiveCampaign, it's really hard to see your segments. And Chris and I have had this as a running joke for 6 years now?
Yes, it's terrible.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't personally understand why we don't have that. I don't understand why technically that is such a challenge. Yeah. I do understand the fact that segments as a technical data object live kind of somewhere in between contacts and contact data and lists and searches. It's complicated, and I'm not a developer. Right.
Yeah.
So sure there's a barrier in there somewhere. We would love to see that go away.
Oh, okay.
We would love to see that go away.
I can't even tell somebody where to access their segments. They're looking for a button to click that says segments. It doesn't exist.
It's going to change. Chris, I have the faith, I have the hope, and I tell you what I am seeing. I am seeing ActiveCampaign's senior management listening to users.
Good.
I am feeling a sea change and a leaning in. Okay.
That's good.
So whilst I'm not speaking out of school here, because I tell ActiveCampaign this stuff to their face the whole time, like, you guys, you've got to give us more notice if you're going to change the pricing, because it's not okay. Small businesses don't have the sort of cash flow where we can suddenly decide to pay annually in order to get around a pricing increase. We can't do that, and it's not fair on users to change stuff without notice. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have these conversations with them as much as I possibly can. And what I'm feeling as a user advocate is a shift in that I feel more heard by ActiveCampaign than I have ever done previously.
That's good.
So I'm taking this as a good sign, and I think it speaks well to the future, because where I see this going is, yes, pricing has changed. The coasting on legacy pricing has pretty much gone. You might hold on to it for another year, but you're not going to be able to hold on to it forever. Yeah. You're going to have to be paying at least a lot closer to current pricing for this amazing, incredibly powerful product. And what that means for many legacy users is they are suddenly going to pay attention to their contact limit, and they're going to pay attention to the feature set that they're actually using. Because if they're not using the feature set, or they're carrying a lot of dead weight in contacts, it's untenable to keep paying current pricing levels. So they're going to either focus in on what they're doing and get proper value out of it, or they're going to migrate. Okay.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think, we are going to see some people migrating, but the ones who stay are going to be leaning into this platform, which is incredible,
Yeah.
a boundless playground for marketers. And all you need to do is get that little bit of support and education to equip you to be able to use the toys that you have to play with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
In closing, I want to mention one thing that you and I touched on prior to this podcast, and I want to include our listeners. And that was, with the inception and extremely fast evolution of artificial intelligence, GPT
Mm-hmm.
3 and 4 and Chat GPT, and implementing it into platforms. We saw HubSpot make a power move with getting a chat bot installed into their platform. Haven't tested it out. Just, the founder put it on
Right.
LinkedIn. Mind blowing, right? Hey, you could tell it to go grab a segment of people who've taken this action and that action, and it will
Yeah.
go do it for you. Oh my goodness, just beautiful, just the sound of it. So what we were talking about it, and listeners, you may agree. Can you imagine a world where ActiveCampaign was doing similar? Right?
Mhm.
Creating that AI experience that could do some data analytics, segment building, and potentially even automation building on a very basic level, right? And they announced that along with their price increase.
Mhm.
Now, Kay, that has a totally different feel because AI is so hot right now. It's so, relevant and in demand. I don't think you would have heard much of anything. I think people would have been so excited about testing out headlines and copy and all of this other stuff that they would
Yeah.
gladly pay the overage. And I bring this up, everybody, as just a lesson to us business owners, founders, anybody who is going direct to consumer, that there are always opportunities. Sometimes we just have to be a little more patient. I mean, who at ActiveCampaign could have seen that AI was going to take off like this, right?
Mhm.
Perhaps somebody in there saw it and just wasn't listened to. But if you can be in tune with the market, there's a lot of times there's something happening in the market that you can just ride that wave too and mitigate. If there's a big change like this, you can
Mhm.
mitigate it and make sure that even though I'm changing pricing, I'm also adding value, because
Yeah.
old value doesn't convert at like new value. You,
Yeah.
you can't say, hey, this platform's been valuable for 10 years. We're going to up the price because you know the value of it.
It doesn't really work, especially when the vast majority of users actually aren't using a lot of the features. Chris, I tell people all the time about conditional content
Oh, man,
for
I love it.
emails, which is the most astoundingly
Yeah.
powerful thing to have
Oh, I
in
love it.
in emails. And in the new email designer for ActiveCampaign, I'm still calling it the new one, because it was last year it came out.
Yeah.
In the new email designer, you can do nested conditional content across whole sections of the emails.
No, I didn't know that. Ooh, I didn't know that.
Wait,
Nested.
did I just tell you something you didn't
Ooh, you
know?
did. This is why
Love
you
it
are
when that
Kate.
happens. Okay, so conditional content in the new email designer is just astounding. It has really leveled up what it can do. But I found out that one of the reasons it was so late being added into the new
Hmm.
email designer was because take up of conditional content is actually really low as a feature. And that
Mm,
makes me really sad, but it doesn't
yeah.
surprise me because I spend so much time telling people you could use conditional content to do that. You have conditional content. And they're like, what? Where? What?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So my mission continues to show
I
people
love
where
it.
the gold is in ActiveCampaign without them having to cry, swear, or give up or migrate to a different platform because they think the grass is greener. I
Yeah.
appreciate that it may look greener. I appreciate that ActiveCampaign is not always doing the best job it could of showing their value and communicating in a transparent, timely way with users. But the value is there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is there. And as you mentioned conditional content, it is just such a strong reminder, everybody, of how much is in the platform.
Mm.
right? And I want to take you all off the hook because when I was there at ActiveCampaign, I used to hear people say this, and I still hear people say this statement of, I know I'm not using it all.
Mm.
You never will use all of the features.
I
You,
don't use all the features.
me neither, right? And there's some features that I used to use that I no longer use.
Mm.
As long as you have access to the features that matter for your business now, and you're aware and you're accurately leveraging them, you are leveraging the tool exactly how it was created to be used. And with that being said, I want to reiterate what Kay said about conditional content because it is something where I think we can safely say we're beyond days of just emailing a list. Email blasts are gone. You're mailing segments now. And because you're mailing segments, you have this ability to make your emails more contextual to the behaviors that people have done that you have tracked. So if
Mm.
we just dropped a new terminology on you, you're like, conditional content, what does that mean? Again, you have a resource to go to. And with that being said, Kay, where can people, we've mentioned the academy, we've mentioned your expertise. Where can people go to connect with you and learn and find out more about your community and your expertise?
Thank you. So we have a couple of free places you can come find me and hang out. I'm on LinkedIn, which I'm actually loving. I'm doing more on LinkedIn these days. So you can
Yes.
just find me by name, Peacey, on LinkedIn. On Facebook, we have a big free community for ActiveCampaign users. So everyone's welcome in there. That's called Automate Your Business with ActiveCampaign. We would love to see you in there. And then on my website at slickbusiness.co, you will find some free resources, which includes Accelerated ActiveCampaign, which is the most killer quick run through the best cookies in the jar of ActiveCampaign there is, bar none. Okay,
Yeah.
it just is. That's helped thousands of ActiveCampaign users, including actual ActiveCampaign staff, to get to grips with that platform really fast and easy, right? And it shows you conditional content. And then the ActiveCampaign Academy is our signature program. Technically, it's a membership. I like to think of it more as a subscription. It's like a pay-as-you-go for ActiveCampaign consultancy,
Yeah.
because what you get is access to me, and my ridiculous obsession with ActiveCampaign means I can answer literally any ActiveCampaign question you have any day.
Mm-hmm.
We run office hours twice a week, which is a drop-in Ask Me Anything. And we have a big bank of courses, tutorials, resources, helpful links, hundreds of screen grabs with annotation that solve the problems that every ActiveCampaign user has, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know the themes, I know where everyone gets stuck. So I'm way ahead of you. And all it is we just drop a link. We're like, oh, go do this. That will
Yep.
fix your problem.
Oh,
Or you've got
love it.
some business use case. We're going to tell you, okay, you need this bit, and this bit. Here they are. Come back if you get stuck.
Yep. Yep. Great. Well, we're going to do our due diligence and make sure that all of those links are in the show notes, everybody, so you don't have to go scrambling trying to figure out everything. Kay, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. It's always a joy having you on.
Thank you, Chris. Always a pleasure.
Yes, yes. And to my listeners, thank you all for your time. Thank you for listening to this episode. And for everybody, everybody, automate responsibly, my friends. I will see you all on the next episode.